Hey everybody, how's it going? My name's Eric. If you don't already know me, I'm an astrophysics student at the University of Calgary, a youth member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, and a current volunteer with Team Astro out of the Rothney Astrophysical Observatory just south of Calgary. In this video, we're checking out Stellarium, specifically basic navigation. So we're going to cover things like pinning these toolbars here, looking around, selecting, deselecting, all of this good stuff, everything you need in order to basically take advantage of just looking around in this amazing software, so stay tuned. Alright, so when you first boot up Stellarium on your computer, you're probably going to get something that looks like this. You're going to be in an open field. Depending on what time of day you're loading the software, it is going to sync the time to the time on your computer. So I happen to be doing this in the daytime, and therefore it's showing me the daytime sky, basically. You're probably going to have this default field, which I think is like some sort of French field type thing, which is just nice for viewing. There's really no obstructions on the horizon, which are very nice. And I'm running Stellarium version 21.2. I think the current one's 21.3 or something like that. So in order to really do anything in Stellarium, you need to be able to move around. So the first thing you want to do is look left, look right, look up, and look down. You can do all of that by just left-clicking with your mouse anywhere on the screen and dragging around. It works a lot like Google Maps in this way, so if you're familiar with that, it's going to be a lot like that. You can spin around, you get these cardinal points, and yeah, so you can look left, you can look right, you can look up, and you can of course look straight down. To do anything else, we're probably going to need the toolbar. If you go over and touch the left, you'll get a toolbar, but as soon as you go away, it disappears. Same thing for the bottom one, unless you have a Mac and sometimes your other toolbar pops up. Anyways, the way you can get these to stay is in the bottom corner. You'll see there's like these little tabs right here, and I have the clicks highlighted on this video, so hopefully you'll be able to see. There's a little arrow indicated right now, but if I click it, it changes to a square. That means that it's now there permanently. And if I click this little arrow here, it'll change that to a square, and now that's there permanently. This is how I like my setup to be. I always like these to be here. I don't like them to be hidden, but feel free to do whatever's more comfortable for you. Okay, so just as a note, don't worry if you don't have this orange line. This is just part of my default settings. Okay, so let's say you're looking at the early morning sky and you happen to see Venus over here on the horizon. What happens if you click Venus? In Stellarium, we call this selecting. All I did was left-clicked Venus, and you get all of this information depending on your default setups. Something that's very helpful once you have selected an object is centering the object. This should work across all operating systems. You can just hit the space bar. Alternatively, if that doesn't work for you, there's also this button right here on the toolbar that says center on selected space, and see it says space right there. So regardless of your operating system, space should work, but if it doesn't, you can just use it right here. Once you have an object selected, you probably want to zoom in and actually look at it, right? That's kind of the point of having a planetarium. So if you're on a Mac, you can just scroll up and down. I happen to be on a laptop, so I'm just 2 fingers scrolling up and down on the trackpad. You could just 1 finger scroll up and down if you had a magic mouse. If you're on a PC, I imagine it works the exact same way. You just scroll up and down. But another really nice way of zooming in, and one that I use more often, especially when I'm presenting, is to just hit the slash button once. Will zoom you in. Sometimes if the object is really, really far away, you might have to double tap the slash. This usually zooms you in to the point where the object is of a reasonable size on your screen. You can continue to scroll in if you want. And if you ever want to go back to what your default settings are for the horizon, you can just hit the backslash once, and it will take you all the way back out to a nice 60-degree field of view, which should hopefully help you get your bearings if you ever get yourself a little confused. Now what's crazy is once you select something, it's not entirely intuitive to deselect it. So for instance, if you go around, nothing's going to work. And if you click somewhere else, you're just going to wind up clicking on a bunch of different things, which can get a little bit annoying. If you're on a Mac, you can just command click, and that will deselect anything that you have clicked. If you're on a Windows computer, you can right-click, and that will also deselect whatever you have selected. All right, the next thing you might want to do is change the time. This one right here, as you can see when I pop up, the text over here displays what the button does. This says set time to now, so right now is not now. I'm actually filming this in the daytime. If I click this, it will adjust it to right now, and the time is currently still moving forward just like normal. To get a little bit more personal with the controls, you just go over here to the clock and you click the clock and you get everything. If you're an astronomer and you want to do Julian day, you can just click Julian day. I basically never use this. I leave it on date and time. And this is the year, the month, the day, the hour, the minute, and the second. If you go over here and you click the play button, you can actually pause time and you'll see that time ceases to count up over here. And this is really nice if you want to go to a specific date. So for instance, I've plugged in the date of the moon landing. I think it was the 15th, it might have been the 14th, but it's pretty easy to fix. Let's say I'm going to click this again and go back to now. Let's say you're using Stellarium in the middle of the day and you want to look at the nighttime sky. The only way to do that is to change the time that you're looking at. So the thing that I usually do is come over here to this column right here, the one that says 15 right now, and I just keep going up until we get to nighttime. This is a sunset sky. I want a black sky, so there you go. And that's how you can change from, for instance, now to nighttime. There's also these fast rewind and fast forward buttons here. I never use them. They get a little bit crazy. They're exponential, so if I click this once, it fast forwards time a little bit. I click it again, it just goes faster. Again, makes the stuff makes the sky obviously move. Another again. This is kind of cool if you want to show some kids or something, what the southern sky looks like if you're in the northern hemisphere here, of the stars coming up over here and coming down over here. But if you keep going, it just gets a little bit much and crazy really, really fast. So I don't usually use those. I usually just go over here to the clock. I change the date, the month, the day, or the hour, or even the minute if I need to, and I pretty much just go with that. All right, let's say you want to search for something, but you don't know where it is. You're not super familiar with the nighttime sky. Well, you don't have to worry about that. You're in a simulation, so there's obviously an easy way to do this. You can either go over here to the search window, or you can say Command F on a Mac. I think it'll be Control F on a Windows, and you can go for anything that you want. I'll just go for M47 here, which is a deep sky object I recently looked at. I'll center it in the screen and I'll zoom in the way that I showed earlier, and here you can see the picture taken from a telescope stitched into Stellarium with some other stars in the background, and there's that deep sky object there. All right, so let's say you have your time set to basically 6 a.m. around this time of year, and you're looking for Venus. You want to know where Venus is, but you can't find it. The easiest thing to do is to come over here to the magnifying glass or Control Command F, and you can just click here and type in Venus, hit enter, and it will automatically center the object on your screen for you, and then you can immediately zoom in if you want, the way that I showed earlier, or however feels most comfortable to you. All right, so by now you may have noticed that your toolbar in your default version of Stellarium does not look like my toolbar. That's because I've customized it. And if you want to add anything that's not here, when you first load Stellarium, you just go over here to your wrench, which is effectively your settings. They call it the configuration window, but it's pretty much just your settings. And you're going to go to Extras. And right here where it says Show Additional Buttons, you can see all the extra buttons that I have clicked. So for instance, if I deselect cardinal points, I lose the cardinal points icon, and if I reselect cardinal points, I regain the cardinal points icon. I can click it, and you can see the east right here disappears, and the east right here pops back on as soon as I turn it on. You can have whatever buttons you like. I just have helpful buttons for me. I really like the flip buttons that reflect your screen, that help you visualize what the sky will look like if you're looking through a reflector telescope, which is what I'm currently renting thanks to the Rask's Rent-A-Scope program. But yeah, if you're ever missing any buttons, this is where you go to add them. And finally, once you've tinkered around in Stellarium, you realize that there's a couple of these things that you'd have to do every single time if you wanted to have the setup the exact same every time you load Stellarium. But of course, there is a nice way of saving your presets. So once you have everything set up the way you like, I like having these bars on the side. I like having this ecliptic line here, for instance. What you can do is you can go to your wrench icon here, your settings, and under main, you just click Save Settings. I'm not going to click that because right now I have all of my default settings saved, but as soon as you get things set up the way you like to, you can just click Save Setting, and it will open Stellarium the exact same way that you left it whenever you click Save Settings. Whenever you save your presets, you'll want to come in here and just say Save Settings so that you don't lose anything that you might have updated or tweaked the last time you used it. And one last troubleshooting thing, if you don't know how to do something or you're looking for a keyboard shortcut in Stellarium, you can just go down here to the Help window, which is just the question mark here. And this looks worse than it is. It's actually a pretty small and pretty easy to use help window. I come in here very often when I need things. If you come in here and you want to see deep sky objects, you can find the key that you'd need to press. Constellation lines, the key you need to press. Anything that you need in here is super visible and pretty much at the top of the page. You don't really have to spend a ton of time looking for what you want. And of course, you can always edit your keyboard shortcuts if you want. I've never done this, but if you want to get super involved and personalize your Stellarium experience, you can do that. Of course, you'd want to come back out and save your settings once you did that. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. We talked about some basic navigational features in Stellarium, so hopefully you can get yourself around the night sky now without too much of a hassle. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next video.